It's been a little while since we've seen something like this, but it's finally time for the United States to return to its roots and be a global power. We're doing it, boys. As a consequence of the Houthis' attacks on private ships moving through shipping lanes adjacent to Yemenis territory, the United States is palling up with its allies, and we're doing a goddamn united front. Let's go.
Attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea threaten the free flow of commerce in the region's vital waterways, endanger innocent ship workers, and are a flagrant affront to international law. Simply put, these attacks threaten global prosperity. Yesterday, the Department of Defense announced the establishment of Operation Prosperity Guardian, a multinational security initiative focused on advancing security in the Red Sea in the face of this threat. We welcome the participation of our allies and partners, the United Kingdom, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Seychelles, and Spain in confronting the threat. In addition, the United States, High Representative Joseph Borrell on behalf of the European Union, NATO Secretary... No, I said in addition to the United States. Oh, in addition to the United States. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on behalf of NATO, and a group representing 44 partner nations will soon release a joint statement condemning the Houthis' ongoing and numerous attacks on merchant vessels. The growing list of attacks includes the Houthi-led seizure of the Galaxy Leader, whose crew, hailing from the Philippines, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Mexico, and Romania, remain unjustly detained. We once again call for the crew's immediate and unconditional release. There is no justification.
Right, okay. So yeah, one of the all right. Remember how we looked at this on stream a little while ago. Remember how the I'm going to find it again so we can get that funny impact. Wiki, let me see. Why am I blanking right now? The pirates. Why do I keep thinking Saudi pirates? That's not what they are. Somali pirates, that's it. So pirates conflict. So we can see the piracy off the coast of Somalia, where we can see the the world uniting against something that everyone on Earth wants. Clean shipping lanes. Belligerents. On one side, we have the Somali pirates. And on the other side, we have... Yeah, everyone. Absolutely everyone. The world united against the Somali pirates, and we made them less of a problem. This was the same conflict that led to one of the very, very, very rare positive United States North Korea public acknowledgments, where a U.S. Navy vessel rescued a captured North Korean, what was it, a fishing boat? It wasn't a military vessel, I forget. And it led to a positive, a statement of appreciation from North Korea to the United States, which is awfully nice. Yes, our North Korean allies in the war against piracy. The sea is serious business. Yes, it is. So as we can see by this graph right here, it's not really a graph, I guess. It's sort of a... Is that? No, it's just a map. Yeah. As we can see, a number of boats go through here. How many boats? I don't know exactly. See, this is a little time lapse. This is from 2012, you know. Funnily, this is back from when the Somali pirate crisis was still happening. So maybe this was actually kind of like diminished a little bit. A large number of boats make it through here. It's a critical shipping lane for everyone. For the United States, for China especially, lots of stuff making it through here. The world wants safe shipping lanes, and there's actually a pretty significant level of international investment in the maintenance of these safe shipping lanes, because again, everybody benefits. You know, in a world of international commerce, everybody benefits from making sure these lanes are safe. You do not want pirates, because again, if you have incidents like what the Houthis have been doing, if you have incidents like piracy ships being taken over, destroyed, sunk even, it makes people much less willing to send ships through. I haven't really talked about this much because it's very complicated and I don't know that much about it. But international shipping is like a really, really, really shady business. You know, companies will have stuff loaded up onto cargo ships, and the cargo ships are like registered in certain countries to benefit from certain laws, and like captains change hands, stuff shifts around. There's a lot of wacky stuff going on in the open seas, but it's usually not piracy. It's usually more like mafia tier shit, you know? It's complicated, but hey, it works. They do a lot of wacky stuff, but you know, if it works, it works. So if see, all of the ships moving through here, the Red Sea, got to go by Yemen, where the Houthis control things. The Houthis have, of course, been sort of waging a war against Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has been genociding people in Yemen. The Houthis are sort of like an independent, semi-independent, like regional force, relatively well armed too. Now the Houthis, just a moment, Houthis map. Live UA map. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself here with what exactly is going on. Live interactive map of the Yemen war. Over here in red, we have the territory the Houthis control. Now, you might notice they control the territory right next to that one incredibly narrow strait that all the boats have to go through. Wow, that sure is some important territory they control. Now, Saudi Arabia, which is this gigantic chunk of sand right here, has been carrying out essentially a genocide in Yemen for years now using United States weapons. One of the reasons we've been assisting Saudi Arabia is A, we like their oil, and B, we want them to control this region and sort of rein it in because we don't like the idea of the Houthis, who are, one second, Houthis flag. Houthis who are, as we all remember, waving the flag of God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam. So we don't want these guys, operating right next to a critical shipping lane. We don't want them around at all, to be honest with you. So we've been assisting Saudi Arabia in the genocide that they have been committing. Now, has Saudi Arabia successfully dealt with the Houthis? No. The Houthis are stronger than ever. Yes, and the Houthis are backed by Iran, which is where they get a ton of support money, weapons, what have you, because of course Iran doesn't like Saudi Arabia and blah, blah. So the Houthis are stronger than ever. In fact, I think the current, Houthis strength, don't they have like 6-digit numbers of people? Not soldiers, but in total, like as a part of their, yeah, here we go. According to Wikipedia, back in 2011, 100,000. In 2020, 200,000. So, you know, they're going up. State allies, Iran, alleged, denied by Iran. North Korea, alleged. Oman, alleged, denied by Oman. Eritrea, alleged, denied by Eritrea. Libya, until 2011. What happened to Libya? And Russia, not alleged. Hello, Russia. Look, it's complicated, okay? Anyway, Houthis, lunatics, jihadists, backed by Iran, supported by Russia. We don't like them. Saudi Arabia has done a terrible job of fighting them. The fighting has sort of waned down lately. Saudi Arabia is not actually part of the coalition that the United States is forming to protect shipping in this area, which suggests to me that Saudi Arabia wants to try to like make a deal with the Houthis, which in my opinion would be a good thing because that would probably bring an end to the conflict and the slaughter of civilians in Yemen, which how many lives has that taken? Bombing campaign has killed an estimated 20,000 civilians. Oh, so less than what, nice, less than what Israel has done in the Gaza Strip. And, nice. And this has been going on since 2014. So it took Israel like 3 months to kill more civilians than Saudi Arabia did in 8 years. That's just from the bombing campaign done by Saudi Arabia, though. The total number of deaths in Yemen are mostly because of the famine. I think about 250,000 have died indirectly due to the destruction of resources and so on. As always, imperial war against insurgency going about as well as it always does, that is to say very poorly. So, the Houthis over here, tepid sort of rate of things right now with Saudi Arabia. We'll see how that goes. But the Houthis, you might have guessed this from a curse upon the Jews being in their official flag. But they don't like Israel. Really don't like Israel. Really, 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 really don't like Israel. When Israel began its most recent genocidal campaign in the Gaza Strip, the Houthis responded with, among other things, threats. They sent a couple missiles over, Now, do the Houthis actually care about the Palestinians? No. Like most groups in the region who hate Israel, the massacre of Palestinians is just a convenient excuse for them to ramp up tensions and galvanize people against Israel. If you are on Twitter and you think that the Houthis are legitimately, like pro-Palestinian in any capacity, you're a mark, you're a fool, you're an idiot. You're a buffoon, is the thing. The Houthis and the, Yemenis tradition have been putting out a lot of really funny videos because they're a very theatric people. I saw one of like two guys with guns dancing over the Israeli flag. They were doing a whole bit. It was very funny. Oh, here we go. Wait. Yemeni Houthis perform traditional dance on captured ship. Okay, yeah, big warning on social media. If you see any accounts that are actually like promoting the Houthis, okay? That's a bad account. They do love their dances, though. This isn't a good dance video. I feel like I've seen better dance videos from them. Oh, here we go. No audio on this one. That's a shame. I kind of want audio on this one. Those people dancing have about 3 days left to live. That is true. These are dead men walking. As we'll see. Oh, here we go. I found it. Now, we can't deny that they do be bopping. I don't think that's a pro-Houthi statement. They do be bopping. However, please remember that this is motivated entirely by anti-Semitism, not by any actual interest in saving Palestinians. That's the most unintimidating video I've ever seen them out. Listen, okay? It's their culture, all right? Who am I to deny them their little treat, their little dance, okay? So, anyway, the Houthis, following the recent kerfuffle that Israel has caused, have people are going to take that out of context. Obviously, the October 7th by Hamas was what initiated the current conflict, but Israel then chose to do a genocide, so whatever. The Houthis have responded with ramping up aggression, and they have started capturing ships over here. Now, this is a critical shipping lane, so capturing ships here spooks a lot of people. It f***s with international shipping. Nobody f***s with international shipping on America's watch. It really is that simple. It's that simple. America, you heard the list of countries that are participating. Saudi Arabia is not, presumably because they're interested in building better relations with Yemen and the Houthis. China is not, and they've been taking some shit for that. China, Houthis. It's not a very explanatory article. Houthi rebel missiles in the Red Sea have a link to China. Oh, that makes sense. I don't think that China is disengaging because they want to maintain good relations with the Houthis. I think they're disengaging because this is a whole political snafu they don't really want to get involved in. The Houthis are backed by Iran and Russia, after all, and I don't think China wants to exacerbate tensions there. I also don't know if China has, I don't know if they want to spend the money or the time on this, to be honest. This would be, when was the last time there was a actual military coalition between the United States and China of any kind? Because I feel like this would be potentially a show of weakness from China. China does the paper tiger stuff the same way that Russia does, right? If the United States showed up with all of their gigantic, modern naval equipment, and China showed up with their weak bullshit, I feel like it would make them look quite weak, The last thing that paper tigers want to do is actually be seen controlling paper tigers. You know what I mean? For more information on American empire, let me take a look at this PBS NewsHour clip. But China is not a paper tiger. Well, compared to what they say they are, certainly. If anything, America undersells its military power. Russia plays it up a ton. China plays it up to some extent, but they definitely overstate their power. Yeah, they don't want to look like they're playing second fiddle. Yeah. No, Russia is far more of a paper tiger, or I guess was more of a paper tiger than China.
We return now to the conflict in the Middle East and rising tensions in the Red Sea, where about 12% of the world's global trade passes through, and where Houthi militias in Yemen have been attacking ships. The Houthis say their attacks are in support of the Palestinians. Yesterday, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced a new multinational effort to protect ships in the region. But how will that
Mr.
work?
Slynn.
For that, we turn to former commander of U.S. forces in the Middle East, retired General Frank McKenzie.
Hi.
He's now the executive director of the Global and National Security Institute at the University of South Florida. Thanks for being with us, sir. And help our audience understand first, who are the Houthis and why exactly are they attacking commercial ships?
The Houthis are a proxy of Iran, and they've seized governmental control in a coup in Yemen several years ago. They've been largely responsible for the mass starvation in the country. And with Iran,
That's just going to sort of write off American support for Saudi Arabia, like mass. Yeah, okay, but total bullshit. Right away. Wonder what's been going on in Yemen. Certainly nothing that American munitions have helped create.
pursue a policy for the destruction of Israel. They're not completely under the direct control of Iran, but Iran provides their equipment, provides their resourcing, and all their supplies, but they're not directly...
We provide equipment to Saudi Arabia. Does that mean that it's a proxy war that we're involved in?
The beck and call of Iran in this matter. The Houthis have wanted to attack Israel. It's very hard for them to range Israel proper. So they've settled on instead trying to cut off communication of maritime shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb area, down at the southern end of the Red Sea.
And as we mentioned, the U.S. announced this creation of this multinational task force to protect commercial traffic through the Red Sea. How exactly will that work? And in your estimation, will it be enough to deter future attacks?
The ships will be important. We will provide ships. Our friends and partners will provide ships. And those warships that will be out there shepherding the merchant vessels through will be very important. But what will be equally important will be the intelligence architecture that we put over the Bab el-Mandeb. You need to see what's going on. You do that through manned patrol aircraft, unmanned aircraft, drones, all kinds of other intelligence gathering systems to actually see what the Houthis are up to. And this also has another effect. We know from many years of dealing with Iran, they don't like to be observed. It can have a deterring effect. In 2009,
this is such a fucking Holden blood feast impulse where everything has to go back to Iran every single fucking time. Seriously, like, it's such a, like, every time, you know, it all has to orient back around that.
Our heavy use of ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets around the Strait of Hormuz prevented the Iranians from carrying out nefarious attacks. May or may not be enough with the Houthis. They tend to be very aggressive. I think at some point we're probably going to have to consider striking some of these Houthi launch sites, command and control posts, radar outposts, those things that make their attacks possible. The Houthis will respect that. They will understand. And frankly, I think the odds of an escalatory spiral coming from a self-defense strike down in Yemen, those odds are very small.
BP is now the latest company to announce it's going to be pausing shipments through the Red Sea. As we mentioned, with so much global trade going through that area, what does that mean for the future of big business?
Well, I think if we're unable to reestablish and reassert the right of free passage here and keep the Houthis from making these attacks, everything's going to slow down. It's 14 more days to go around Africa to come up either east or west, and that will tend to exert greater pressure on the market, probably the energy market first, but other markets as well. So it's in everyone's interest. Every nation that moves on the global commons actually has an interest in ensuring that the Bab el-Mandeb is going to be open for the right of free passage of ships.
As you mentioned, the Houthis are an Iranian proxy. What does all of this suggest about the potential?
I'm trying to see what exactly the composition of the naval fleet that we've sent there is. We've sent the U.S. aircraft carrier Dwight D. Eisenhower, it seems. One carrier group is probably enough to, like, completely wipe out the entire fucking Houthi-controlled coastline and every installation near it. Yeah, I don't know how... It's not really a matter of firepower. It's just a matter of, like, how much territory you can cover. Of course, aircraft carriers are just that, aircraft carriers, so you can cover a decent... Is that not the one near Israel? Isn't that one the their old Ford? Or did they pull one off of the coverage of Israel?
Potential for Israel's war against Hamas to escalate into a wider regional conflict.
So I think the odds of the escalation beyond Gaza are actually fairly small right now. Lebanese Hezbollah has not chosen to enter the fray, despite the fact they're exchanging low levels of fire with Israel on its northern border. Iran has not chosen to directly attack Israel. Those are important things that have perhaps been overlooked. Hamas is not getting a lot of support from those two entities. Now, the Houthis are. But again, as I said, the Houthis have limited ability actually to strike Israel. They're reduced, to carrying out attacks down around the Bab el-Mandeb, and they are doing that. But I believe that's a problem we can solve. We may need to be a little more aggressive about it than we've been to date, but I believe that's a solvable problem. But the larger issue is
I fucking hate Holden Bloodfeast shit. Sorry, I was just looking it up. Yeah, the Eisenhower controls the Carrier Group 2. So that's 6 cruisers/submarines, 7 in the destroyer squadron, and 9 air wing squadrons. Embarked aboard the USS John F. Kennedy. Oh, I thought this was part of the Dwight D. Eisenhower. Currently serves as the flagship of Carrier Strike Group 2. Okay, so maybe that information's outdated, or they switched it around recently? I don't know. Aircraft carriers don't move on their own. The term overkill comes to mind. Yeah, well, if we have carrier strike groups, might as well use them, right? Counterpoint, Vaush, Houthis are the only armed forces with a documented space warfare engagement. Oh, shit! As of 2023, no large-scale battle or war is known to have taken place in space, though a number of single-instant tests and demonstrations have been performed. On October 31st, 2023, during the 2023 Israel-Hamas war, Israel's Arrow 2 system intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Yemen by Houthi rebels. This successful interception occurred outside of Earth's atmosphere, thus making it the first recorded practical instance of space warfare. Holy shit, I didn't even hear about that. That's incredible. A family of anti-ballistic missiles designed to fulfill... Okay, so they intercepted it all the way out in space. God damn. Here's a page on the ships involved. Oh, yeah. It's called Operation Prosperity Guardian, by the way, which is, I think, quite funny. Commanders and leaders. On the American side, we have Joe Biden. Where does it say? U.S. Combined Maritime Forces will control... When was the last time the Combined Maritime Forces did shit? Probably pretty often, just like inconsequential stuff. The vessels HMS Diamond, Lancaster, Chinningford, Middleton, Bangor, Cardiff, and the Italian frigate Vergiano Fasan, 3 U.S. destroyers and a French warship. The U.S. contingent might also include the USS Carney and Mason. So whether or not the aircraft carrier goes there, I guess currently indeterminate? Or does the combined task force only refer to non-American... How does white mode Wikipedia not blind you? Well, I couldn't be blinded by that. Every time I look at my skin, I'd be blinded if that was the case. I think those are the ships that are doing the patrolling. The carrier group is more backup. That makes sense. So these would be the ships that are actually, like, keeping order around the shipping vessels, and the U.S. carrier group might just be, I don't know, like, shooting inland. Because that former NATO officer said they might strike, like, Houthi radar posts and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure in order for them to do that, they would need an aircraft carrier. I mean, I guess you could just fire missiles from modern battleships, but... they would probably want the aircraft carrier for that. We don't have battleships? Destroyers, the current term. Battleships are too cool to be around these days, you know? Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. They're just obsolete now. We need to return to tradition, man. If you want to siege an inland settlement, okay? Fuck aircraft carriers and fuck missiles, okay? What you do is you aim 50,000 cannons in the general vicinity of where you want to fire, and you hope you hit it. You spend like the U.S. tax dollar equivalent of investment in an entire state in like 3 minutes, and you reduce that area and every area around it to ash. It's the humane way of doing naval warfare. Okay, dude, can we talk about the real solution instead of jerking off to war? Well, first of all, battleships are objectively cool. Don't be bigoted against autistic people. For 2, this isn't jerking off about war. I just think they're cool. For 3, I don't really mind what the U.S. is doing. Sorry, like fucking with international, like maritime trade obviously is going to get the world brought down on you. Like this literally just happened with the fucking Somali pirates. Like, you know, obviously, like, you know, like I wish the United States would not aid and abet Israel's genocide, but in the specific context of the Houthis taking over, like, privately owned shipping vessels, they're doing it to sort of, you know, rabble rouse, and this is the consequence of that, and it's not surprising. I mean, I don't really have an issue with this, I guess. I'm sure the way in which they'll do it will be fucked in some way, but, you know. Apparently the Navy is sending in the USS Constitution to engage in special operations with pirate vessels. What? Oh, you're memeing, I see. If only. Yeah, interrupting trade doesn't just make corporations mad. It leads to people starving because no food transfer. Yeah, we do, even as leftists, you know, we do. Listen, okay, the Suez Canal blocking because a big chunker rammed into the side is very funny, okay? I guess I just find it less funny for a bunch of, like, lunatic jihadists to, like, I don't know, terrorize civilian. There's nothing funny about that, I guess. It's just, you know, it's like, yeah, the hammer is going to be brought down on them. In regards to jerking off battleships, look at this cool and awesome thing. God, return to tradition. Look at that. Holy shit. It looks like a fucking tenement housing facility, except military, you know? It looks like a ship got cancer and the tumors have like gun emplacements, you know? That's a ghost ship. Is it? I mean, it looks pretty rough. I gotta say. I mean, it's Japanese, so I guess a World War II Japanese ship that just like floated off. A lot of people love jihadists. Look at the response to 10-7. Well, a lot of people a lot of left-leaning people in the West will express support for Hamas or Houthis because they see opposition to Israel and go like, oh, that's cool, you know. And opposition to Israel is a good thing, but the Houthis and Hamas have both cynically weaponized a good cause for their own respective purposes, you know? I don't think that every member of Hamas or every member of the Houthis is some kind of monster, you know? I think that overwhelmingly their organization is jihadist and anti-Semitic. There are probably people who are a part of it who are more like sensible, more reasonable. And I don't think that it makes you like innately evil to be a member of those groups because your personal motivations might differ from those of the group. At the same time, you know, I also think that there is like a utilitarian argument for supporting a lesser evil in the context of them being less powerful than that which they're opposed to. However, that only really works with Hamas in some cases. It doesn't work with the Houthis at all. The Houthis really aren't like doing anything good. My understanding of the conflict, the civil war in Yemen and what they're doing now and what they've been doing broadly is that, like, unlike Hamas, who are generally quite bad, but at the very least they are correct in saying they're fighting a kind of like insurrectionist war against Israeli genocide, the Houthis don't really have that defense, so the situation's a bit different there. You know, you don't under any circumstances have to have it to them, I'd say, or hand it to them. When you say jihadist, is there a particular definition you're using? I just mean they're like, they're religious martyrs. Like their motivation isn't humanist. Their motivation is they are fighting a war for Islam against other forces, and they're willing to die for that cause, like religious warrior, basically. And it's not as though Muslims are the only religious warriors, but I would definitely say, at least in the context of the conflicts that we talk about, they tend to do it the most. Because there's a thing in Islam about martyrdom, and the Middle East and Northern Africa are so fucked anyway, you know, it leads to a lot of people with nothing else to live for, so it's like, blah, 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 you know. Anyway, the reason why I insist, on the whole, like jihadist thing, it's not because they're Muslim. Being a Muslim fighter doesn't make you jihadist, you know? It's that they're not humanist, which means that their motivations for fighting aren't really rooted in a set of ethics that we can relate to. You know, this goes back to my broader anti-theism. You can have a religious person who you can make arguments to and against on, like, the value of a human life or what they should or shouldn't do to maximize harm. But if a person's primary motivation is fighting a religious war, and you're like, bro, you can't do that, like, that's unethical. And they can be like, well, it's for God, you know, and say, well, fuck, I can't really argue against that, can I? Hence, jihadist. In fairness, there are a lot of Christian fundamentalists who are like that. They just don't tend to take up AK-47s. Vaush, I got ratioed on Twitter by Red Triangle simply for saying I think it's silly to think the Houthis could take out an entire coalition fleet. Oh yeah, I have seen that. I have seen a couple of lunatics, you know, like the same people who were saying that, like, Russia is more advanced than the West or whatever, who are like, the Houthis have been fighting an insurgency against Saudi Arabia for years. They would expertly take care, when in reality, like, a U.S. carrier group could kill God. You know, the idea that there's anything short of, like, nuclear missiles from far away that could reliably take care of a fucking U.S. carrier group is ridiculous, you know. I think a U.S. carrier group has killed God in several animes. That would make for a much better Final Fantasy. You're like rounding out your party with companions or whatever, and you've got like the cute scientist girl who goes like, "Nya," and you have like the guy with the edgy backstory. And for your final party member, it's a U.S. carrier strike group, just all together in like one unit card or whatever. The camera has to like zoom out really far, and they all get selected as one item. And their one attack is like bombard, and it just like ends the fight immediately. That'd be very good. You make your way to the final boss, which is like half angel, half devil, because that's every single fucking anime final boss. And it just, you know, one hits it, whatever. Their ultimate is Buster Call, yeah. In One Piece, the weapon of mass destruction that can wipe out an island is literally just a strike fleet bombing an island. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Short of nukes. Even funnier was that a nuke would need a direct hit to take a carrier group out. Yeah, that is true. My understanding of modern, like, naval, like, top-of-the-line, sort of, like, naval fleets is that they are built to withstand a nuclear war. The idea of, like, a panicked, like, Iranian last-second, last-resort fucking nuclear missile strike against a U.S. carrier group that fucking fails because it didn't have enough, like, megaton yield, and it went off, like, a quarter mile off from center, and the ships just get, like, rocked around a bunch. Jesus Christ. Wasn't Desert Storm pretty much a Buster Call against Iraq? I mean, pretty much in terms of, like, efficacy. Would the entire crew not be melted into the ship? I mean, if you think about it, a United States aircraft carrier is kind of like the world's best built bunker. Like, aircraft carriers are the size of a small city, basically, you know, internally. So you could just go in the middle of it, and that would protect you against a lot. Like, a lot, you know? Not a small city, you know, like a skyscraper on its side. Literally? I mean, they're very big. I'm pretty sure that a U.S. aircraft carrier has like 4,000 people on board, you know? And that is not to capacity. That's just like regular... Hold on. U.S. aircraft carrier nuke protection. Now I'm curious.
In general...
Why am I getting a TikTok video? Okay, will the TikTok video answer my question? Just let me take all of this information for granted with no critical thought.
Aircraft carriers are designed to be very durable and can withstand a great deal of damage. They have thick armor plating and are compartmentalized so that damage to one section of the ship does not necessarily sink the entire vessel. However, a nuclear bomb is a very powerful weapon, and even an aircraft carrier would be vulnerable to a direct hit. A nuclear bomb with a yield of 1 megaton, equivalent to
well, of course a direct hit. Nothing can survive a direct hit.
Million tons detonated within a few kilometers of an
I do hate the TikTok AI voices a lot. Yeah, how hard would it be to just, like, narrate, you know?
Aircraft carrier would likely destroy the ship. The blast wave would be powerful enough to rupture the ship's hull and cause massive internal damage. The heat from the blast would also be intense enough to melt the ship's armor and start fires. If the aircraft carrier were further away from the blast, or if it were shielded by other objects, it might be able to survive.
I think this video's bullshit. Wait, who linked this? Nobody linked it. Wait, who had the video where they said a blast test? Where's the blast test video? I didn't click the link in time. Where is it? Me?
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Why? Is it not cool enough that they're fucking doing blast tests on a fucking aircraft carrier? Why? Why does everything have to be like this for Zoomers now? What is wrong with your brains? Why the fake shake? I can't find aircraft carrier hit by 2 atomic bombs and scuttled decades later, still amazingly intact. More than 90 ships assembled as a target fleet for the Bikini Atoll atomic bomb test in 46. Remarkably, the ship survived 2 blasts and eventually got back to the United States. Not fully intact, I'd say. Yeah, it sank, but then yeah. But that's not even modern. That's World War II era. Huh. Wow, nukes sure are, Sure are big, huh? Love to see a 2-mile tall wall of water appear in an instant. It's fine. Alright, whatever. We're sort of getting extremely sidetracked anyway. My understanding is that, in general, boats tend to be pretty nuclear weapon resistant. A direct hit will vaporize it, of course. But, one of the main reasons that shit gets destroyed during a nuke is like a blast wave. And the nice thing about being in a boat is that you have the world's best, like, shock dissipation system called the ocean. So rather than a building, which is on a rigid foundation or semi-rigid, which gets, knocked away, a ship can buck in the water quite a bit. Could it get tipped over? I mean, sure, but I don't think so. I don't think the profile of a ship would be large enough. You'd have to hit it in a very specific way. Vibrations travel through water, though? Yeah, but the nuke wouldn't be detonated in water. It'd be detonated in an airburst above the ships, right? Because that's how people detonate nukes, right? You wouldn't want it to go in the water. A huge amount of energy would get taken up by the water. Whatever. Nuclear torpedoes exist. Yeah, we're not talking about nuclear... I don't think a U.S. aircraft carrier could survive a nuclear torpedo. I was just talking about, like, if a nuke went off like a quarter mile in an airburst from it, like, could it reliably survive? And I think, depending on the yield, it potentially could. Ships have a decent track record for that, I'm pretty sure. Of course, you'd still have the radiation, but... Want to bet? No. All right, moving on. Next, I'm trying to, like, investigate a curiosity. You don't need a nuke to sink a carrier? Well, I know that. A torpedo is designed to sink ships. A torpedo could sink anything, potentially. That's one of the reasons why... That's one of the reasons why, fucking carriers have strike groups around them. It's to protect them. They have a bunch of submarines and shit, so that they can, like, intercept shit like that. The USS Ronald Reagan, a newly built $6.2 billion aircraft carrier. Only $6.2 billion for an aircraft carrier? That feels like not very much. How much does an aircraft carrier cost to build? $4.5 billion each? That's like nothing. The new class of carrier, about $6.2 billion. Elon Musk could have the world's largest fleet of aircraft carriers. Like, Mark Zuckerberg could... That's not that expensive. Most expensive stealth jet USA. $2.1 billion. So those, like, the B-2 Spirit costs like 1/2 of an aircraft carrier? This is my problem with the American military, okay? We don't have enough aircraft carriers. What are we doing? 4.5 billion? That's like nothing. What do you... implement a billionaire tax, take their money, and build 50 more aircraft carriers. This is ridiculous. This is... Jesus Christ. Isn't maintenance usually the expensive part? Yes. Maintenance and crew costs, especially for aircraft carrier. We can't afford not to build more. All right.